Darryl Powell, I asked him in the press conference after the game about they're going to have a build-up of fixtures. They're going to have to play this Challenge Cup game at some point in the future.
Yeah, well, there needs to be some real smart thinking done about this one, Cause, I mean, I know it's not Hull's fault by any stretch. Well, we don't think it is, but we can't be hampered, starting to put us with short turnarounds because of this. We've got a big stretch here where we're not playing now, and like I say, there needs to be some smart thinking put in there. I think there's potential to put us under a lot of pressure down the track, and I think we've been like I said, I think we've been set up a little bit first 2 weeks, and I won't want that to happen again. I want to get us a straight run of fixtures where we know what we're doing if at all possible. Although recognise that it's been pretty tough. I think we previewed for 3 teams this week, so it's certainly been an interesting week.
Talking about duty of care and player welfare and all this stuff, Phil. Rugby Union and Rugby League, we've taken stuff from each other over the years. They've got this rule where one of the sanctions that's available to them is to award a game as a 20-0 loss if a team can't fulfill a fixture for COVID-19 related reasons. I'm not putting any blame on any individual or whatever at Hull, but it's almost as if we should have brought in something like this ourselves, because we haven't got enough time to put this season together properly anyway. We're going to have midweek fixtures, as we said, extra pressures on players. Yes, it's unfortunate, if you want to put it like that, but it's more unfortunate on Castleford, who've done absolutely nothing wrong here and will be punished by having these extra fixtures to fit in.
What is unfortunate, and again, I haven't sort of had it explained as to why, is that Castleford aren't playing this weekend. We have a free Sunday. We could now bring forward some Super League fixtures from later in the year that we know are going to cause logistical issues. So you could have 3 games played this Sunday, all on our primary broadcasters channel. So they've got a Super Sunday. We were told that August was our shop window. Yes, it goes back to the conversation we've already had about you're preparing for one thing, but come game day, you've got something else. But if, having realised midway through last week that there was only going to be 1 game on a Saturday on the BBC for the Challenge Cup, we should have brought forward 3 Super League games to play at Huddersfield, which was booked for the other Challenge Cup game on the Sunday anyway. Hull KR, play 1 game and have 3 weeks off, but at some point I have to play 4 games in 16 days. Either look at the next round of the Cup, which has already been drawn, and maybe pull one of those or 2 of those games forward, or take 3 Super League games, include a Castleford, who obviously, or any teams that have lost their Toronto fixtures early in the season. And why aren't we playing this weekend? Why haven't we got Super League? And I'm sure Darryl Powell will say it's not ideal to not know until a Monday before who you're playing or where you're playing, but I'd rather do that than, have to travel in midweek and rotate the squad because we're playing, Thursday, Monday, Friday.
What is the answer? Like, it's all, there's period. I can't get my words out now. There's arguments for both, isn't there? Because it's player welfare, and yes, bringing the fixtures forward and having a weekly fixture, but also then is there scope to have this break and to have the weekend off as well? Because it's not the same level and it's not the same intensity, so I can currently appreciate that. But at the women's game, we might play 4 games back to back, and the week off that we have, we could fit in a fixture or we could fit something in. But actually, it's really, really nice just to have the time off, and we don't play at the same intensity. We don't train at the same intensity. And I can appreciate that week off is really good for you, for the team, for the players. Anybody carrying a couple of knocks, it gives them that extra, the weekend and stuff. So it's a really fine line between the player welfare of playing too many games at the end of the season or trying to fit them all in whenever, versus, because they would have had this weekend in as an off, wouldn't they? As soon as Toronto came out and rescheduled. So is it things like they've booked in family time, or I know that sounds really not important and stuff, but actually for having time off, and especially for the wives and partners and whatever else, that's a weekend off. So there's a really fine line for player welfare in the sense that, yes, you don't want to play them too many games too soon, rotate your teams, which is the logistical side of the rugby, but also you need to think about the bigger picture. And that's just where I think that's the difficulty of it.
And obviously, we hope everyone at Hull, players and staff, are okay and there's no long-term complications or whatever. It's an issue of communication again, this story, because the statement comes out late on a night saying, you know, all these Hull players have got tested positive for COVID-19. Immediately everyone goes on social media, because that's what we do. People find evidence of Hull players having a party on social media because they've been foolish enough to do it, post it, that is. Scotty said to us millions of times, you know, if there'd been camera phones around in his day, the things that the players got up to then, but they didn't. So the players know that if the players go out into Hull and go, like the Aberdeen footballers, and go to a bar, then they're stupid, aren't they? If you have a party at home and you post the evidence on social media, you're stupid. Now, they're saying that it's nothing to do with that. That's fine. And it's a player who went to hospital to see a sick child, and, you know, and, if they'd have come out and said that when they released the statement, because Hull will have known that statement was coming out, as would Super League, because they released it themselves. Why didn't they come out and just say that story in the first place, rather than leave it 12 hours till your chairman goes on Radio Humberside and stop the ambiguity? Because I just don't understand the communication elements of this sport sometimes, Phil, confuses me massively. And that's where people will go on social media and make their own narratives up.
Yeah, but also, where was the instruction to players not to have a weekend off or not to have a gathering if they're meeting as a squad? And, you know, if you see a lot of the social media from the players, a lot of them have been out to coffee shops or to bars or whatever else. Should that have come from higher up and said, if we are to play, you know, Super League is to come back, we need you to adhere to a certain level of social distancing, which is more so than what the government have put out. And that comes down because nobody's told. You know, you think about the age of some of these players. You've got 17, 18, 19-year-old kids, and that's what they are. You know, even the 20, 21-year-olds, they're still young, and essentially, you know, I'm 35.
I'm 32. Yeah.
35 and still, you know, doing what I want to do. And there's a really fine line there because they weren't told not to.
I think there's something else as well. And heaven forbid if anybody got the security camera footage from Stoggies in the late 80s, early 90s, Scully would be in trouble. The issue is, you know, imagine you're an overseas player. So your whole network is based around some of your friends at the club. So you're in lockdown in a foreign country. You're not allowed to do the things that you would normally do, but you're 12,000 miles away from home. So your support network just isn't there. You know, unless the guidance is absolutely crystal clear, and it's not even so much from the clubs, and this isn't making a political point, but actually it is, that everybody you speak to at the moment is not 100% sure of what they are and aren't allowed to do. That things have got to such a laissez-faire place that people are saying, oh, you know, the virus hasn't really affected me or where I live. So I'm sort of wary of it, but I don't need to be as aware of it that I would be if I was told that I could only visit this place at that time, or I could only associate with that person that time. It's very vague. You know, even the phrase bubble is extremely vague. And the truth is, what's probably come out of this whole scenario is that because of cost, we don't test enough. And the thing about that is, you know, we test enough to pick up the disease once people have got it. But the corollary of that is once you've got to that point, the restrictions, all of how long you've got to be in quarantine for, who else is in place for isolation, that's all taken care of by Public Health England or whatever it's called today, Dido Society or whatever it is. You know, so the players have, I have an element of sympathy for anybody at the moment is trying to understand exactly what it is that they should and shouldn't do. They live in the communities that they play in. They go shopping in supermarkets where they're going to bump into people who clearly are not within their bubble. They're encouraged to do that at the moment by the restrictions that we live under. It's going to be very hard for a club to say stay at home all day every day if the government is telling you that they're encouraging people to go back to work. So I sort of get it. There's too many contradictions out there at the moment, and I do have sympathy for the fact that, yes, in terms of the word professional, maybe you should go to training, go home, stay at home, go to a match, come back from a match, stay at home. But you can't expect people to do that.
Well, this is the thing. But you're not only just thinking about the players in Super League now. So if the players, and like you say, the Islanders particularly, and the Australians and stuff, they gather together because that's their network, that's their hub.
Exactly.
But is Super League therefore a bubble? Because at one point you're all going to play each other anyway. But then that aside, for all the players that have got partners, wives, girlfriends, whatever, who all have jobs, they're still going to work and they're still coming home. Their children have been going to school or playing at a playground now because they're allowed to do that. You know, there's too many variables and not enough money. And that's the problem. It's like I met up with Hannah Butcher, who I play with. She's Kirklees. And I made a joke and I was like, oh, are you allowed to come and meet me now? And she said she had to put a mask on, or her granddad, sorry, had to put a mask on to go to the shop to buy his Sunday paper and speak to the guy behind the till who also had a mask on. But 3 hours later, they were in the pub together without masks on because the rules state you're not allowed to go around to somebody's house, but you're still allowed to go to the pub with them. So if the government can't get the rules right, how the hell can we expect the Super League, the RFL, to therefore get the rules right? And I don't want, and God forbid anything happens to the whole players, self players, whatever. Nobody wants that. But also, stop berating the players for relaxing their time off. And that's what I think it comes down to. Because I don't think anybody can say to us what the rules are as a government, as a general population, never mind as an athlete and a Super League player. Told you, I'm on a bit of a roll today.
But here's another thing. You know, we're talking about the need for crowds to come back to be economically viable. So aside from the health imperative, our clubs have backloaded their season in the hope that they can get some revenue from having crowds back in. So you would think that the first sort of test events would be outdoors, where it's relatively easy to socially distance people, where we're told you don't need a mask if you're outdoors in the same way that you do that you're in a confined space indoors. So what's the first event that we allow fans back into? The World Snooker Championships, which is indoors.
And non-league football.
The mixed messages are, you know, it's almost impossible. I wouldn't want to be the chief executive of a Super League club at the moment, because how can you plan ahead with when the messages you're getting from the central government that licenses what you're allowed to do doesn't appear to follow a logical process?
Non-league football not allowed crowds. Village cricket allowed crowds. I don't know. All I would say is, you know, and I tend to agree with Sam Tompkins' tweet last week on this one. You've got to have a bit of common sense. You know, don't go to pubs, don't go to nightclubs or whatever. That's just common sense. But again, you just have common sense over use of social media as well, because people will jump to conclusions if you allow them to. And again, if you know the reason why there might be this outbreak, then tell us straight away. Don't leave ambiguity, because people will want to think the worst of people. As I say, we wish everyone well at Hull. It's good news that no one at Salford tested positive last week, and you know, there but for the grace of whoever.
I think the concern, as we record this, for me, the worry would be that the numbers at Hull have gone up, which clearly says that the symptoms take a little bit of time to come out. And again, that would absolutely, well, we said it last week, the priority number one is that everybody is safe and as well as they can be and comes through this, and rugby is secondary to all of that. And if it means changing some fixtures, that's the least of anybody's concerns. It has to be health and welfare.